Welcome to this episode of A Facilitator's Journey, the podcast for facilitators and trainers and running your business. Because I am guessing you did not start your business as a passionate facilitator of leadership work, Excel, Microsoft, finance, to then go, oh, I've got to learn how to run a business. But this is the podcast that does answer a load of questions about how to do it and how to do it in many different ways. Today's episode, though, is with a lady called Barb Davids. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Anyway, it's all about your website. We've not talked to anyone about our websites yet. So this is a podcast not about how to build a website or what should be in the website. Well, it is a bit, but it's about some of the technical things that go on our website and how do we get up these Google searches? How do we show up in AI searches now? What are the things that need to happen on your website to enable you to go up the rankings in Google or and appear on that page number one? So you know the drill, team. Grab a cup of tea, grab a drink, settle down, join me on the pink chair, and tune in your ears and enjoy this episode. Hey, Barb, how are you?
Hey, Kirsty, I am good. How are you doing?
I'm very well indeed. I know that it is very early in the morning for you there, and it is late afternoon for me here. So I'm in the UK. Where in the world are you, Barb?
I am just to the east of Phoenix in Gilbert, Arizona. And interestingly enough, I just landed here in October. I was nomading around for like a year before that, like mostly the Midwest and then the West Coast. And then before that, I was in Vegas for like 12 years. And before that, Minnesota. So,
oh my goodness. Wow. Everybody who is in Europe or British now is like closing their eyes and thinking, where is she? Just go west, people, in your visualization of America and sort of low down on the south bit.
Southwest,
versus
yes.
the north bit. Yeah,
exactly.
Go south.
Yeah.
And Bob, how do you describe what it is that you do?
The easiest way I describe it is I help business owners get more website traffic organically.
I love this. And we're going to talk about why I thought we needed this conversation in a moment. And question I ask all my guests at the start, how do we know one another?
So we met because of a post that Lucy Werner did, and it encouraged people to tag each other. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing. Someone called me out, tagged me, and then I saw something that you had said, and then I reached out to you, and then we just started chatting.
Yeah. Gotta love the power of social media. And I just want to say a big thank you to Lucy for making that happen. If you haven't discovered Lucy Werner, her WERNER on Instagram, she has a brilliant book called Hype Yourself. And Lucy and I'd even go as far to say it's like quite business besties, in that we were on a mastermind together back in 2020 and sort of stayed friends ever since and bounced around. Barb and I were just talking about Lucy because the date right now is 16th of May, but last week Lucy deleted one file from her Substack and lost everything. And this isn't just a small lost everything. 13,000 followers plus paid subscribers plus 180 posts, articles. I mean, we're talking about tech, so it feels like totally appropriate to talk about it. I mean, Bob and I were just going, oh my goodness me, like that is a lot.
Yeah. My heart sank when I read that. I forgot about it until you mentioned it, but when I read it, I was like, oh, I know the pain. It's just like you put all your heart and energy and time into it and all the people that are depending on you. And it's just an incredible loss.
But we were also then just saying, we forget that it's not our data. When we're going through a platform, LinkedIn, Instagram, Substack, it's not our data. And we need to back it up, don't we? If there's things in there that you want because it has meaning, and I think the articles, but also just the list, like always have your list of, names, email addresses, have a backup list. Yeah, save your data, people.
Yep.
It is a big one. Now, the reason I got excited when Barb reached out to me is because, as she said, it's all about the website. And I was like, do you know what? Websites are part of our businesses. And whilst this podcast is all about, running a business, we now need to know about websites and managing them, building them, creating them. And then when you've got one, making it actually work for you. So, Barb, help us understand. Like, I guess first question, from your experience, do people need a website when they first start out?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Yes.
no.
No. Yes. So I guess I'll put it. Okay. So I always talk about this little disclaimer that I have rolling around on my head when I walk around and when I talk to people, like a little splat, like the asterisk. Because there's always something. I always feel like there's an outlier. There's always like times changing. So I would say yes, generally.
Okay.
However, there have been people that I know who don't have websites and they have been super successful. However, for the majority of us, for most of us, the website is what people deem you as professional, as you are here to stay, like you're credible. You're not like a fly by the night kind of person doing business. And also for kind of similar to what was happening with Substack and Lucy, if you depend on some other platform for all of your business and it goes away for some reason, you are dependent on that and you have lost all of those eyeballs and all of those followers. So having that website is a way to not only like show your authority that you know what you're talking about and that you are a credible person, but the idea of if they can go there and they can see what you do and get on your newsletter, for example, then you have more contact with them.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were starting out though, and you were right at the very beginning of your journey, I guess I said to people, just have a very polished LinkedIn profile in the first instance now, like get that really up to date and then build your website versus worry that you can't start your business without your website.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And then also they have websites too. Like so if somebody wants to know about you, they're going to want to go somewhere. So where is that? That's usually the website. However, if you only have the LinkedIn to give, that's great. But yeah, make sure it's optimized. And then websites nowadays, even if you're just starting out, it could be as simple as just a one pager and it has information about what you do, how to contact you and other things.
Okay. I was going to say, so what are some of the core elements that we need on a website that allow our clients to find us? I guess that's the thing, isn't it?
Well, now you asked me two different questions, quite frankly.
Go on. I just thought, tell me more. What did you hear versus what I said?
Exactly. I heard, what do you need on a website and what do you need to have on a website for someone to find you? Those are two totally different things. Yeah. And I think I'll start with what do you need on a website. If you have your about and who you help and how with your services and some testimonials or something that shows that you've done some work before, a contact page, and those are probably like the biggest ones. And privacy policy, legalese type of things.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen. So when somebody does find your website, they know what you do and you can try to have that conversation with them. You might not convert them right away. It depends on what your goals are. But as long as they're seeing what you want them to see, then a website that gets you found by people or through internet or however, and that is adding blogs to it. So being able to, let's see, how do I say this? Like, just having your pages set up doesn't allow, for example, Google. I'm going to use Google mostly right now because they're still the majority provider for search. It doesn't allow Google to understand exactly what you do. I mean, it does, but when you have blogs, it gives you more like breadth, more opportunity to get in front of Google.
I didn't realize that. And we rebuilt the School of Facilitation website a year ago, and I took out the blog section purely because I was bored of writing blogs. I had loads of blogs on there. Should I go back and reinstate the blog section and slowly add the blogs back in again?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, Emily, if you're listening, we've got a job for the summer.
I'll clarify why too, because sometimes people wonder, well, I've got my keywords and I've got my services on my page, so why can't Google see that? And Google can see that. However, most people are not only searching for that one service. And if they're saying, I'm looking for a facilitator, for example, then they might find your service page. But if there's another website that has blogs around being the authority in facilitation, then it may choose that website over your website. So it's kind of like you're also competing not for Google's eyes, but against other people who could show up for the same thing.
I did not know that. Wow. Okay. Damn, I took them down. Oh,
Yeah,
here's
that's
another
okay. You
question
can
then.
bring them back. That's the whole beauty about digital marketing too. I feel like there's always a way to do whatever you want. Like nothing's set in stone. You can always change it. Like it's all good.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah.
My brain then goes, can we just upload all the blogs in a short amount of time? Or is it better to drip feed it because the search engine prefers that?
It's better to drip feed from the perspective of energy, first of all. I mean,
True.
it's just much easier. But then also, if you put up a whole bunch at once, it almost looks unhuman. And so Google's going to be like, nobody can do that in that amount of time. This
Yeah.
cannot be true people writing, because technically, because you've brought them down, it's going to start like a brand new thing, and Google's going to have to refigure out what it thinks about your pages. So in this case, I would recommend doing as many as you can, maybe up to once or twice a week at the very, very most.
Okay.
And then going and moving into, at some point, depending on how many blogs you have. Do you happen to know how many blogs?
For people who aren't watching this, Barb and I are the antithesis of each other. So Barb is, I'd like to say, the most calm person I've met and Miss Detail. Barb, I have no bloody idea. Like,
okay, I figured that's okay.
I wrote them from 2016 to 2022 at least once a month.
Oh, then yeah, you've got a lot. Okay, so you could do like once a month for maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Or excuse me, once a week for 3 months, and then move into once a month, bringing them back. And then that way you have some going and you don't have to like come up with something new.
True. And I also probably should look back because some of them are total drivel and some of them I think are probably worthy of repetition.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would totally recommend that too as you go up, just re-looking at them and see how you like them.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm guessing what I was talking about in 2017, sort of 8 years ago, is well, it probably could be applicable to some people, but it might not feel
tweaked.
Yeah. And should you always put pictures in your blogs? Does that help?
Yes. Yes. So what I say with that is more about like engagement. So if you're looking at the blog, pictures kind of help to break up the monotony of it and kind of help solidify or maybe support the words that are being said. So you don't just put pictures up there to put pictures, but if you can do it in a way that helps the comprehension of the page, then that's when it's useful.
It doesn't make any difference for a Google search or a...
it can help. Yeah. So like when you have images on there, you can, first of all, you want to make sure they're the right size. A lot of us, when we do images, we will download from our camera or we'll download from Canva.
Yeah.
And it'll be this like super, super huge, large picture. And then all of a sudden it's like 2 times, 3 times, well, it's like 4 or 5 times the actual space that it's in. And that causes your page to go a little bit slower when it loads up. But so once you can download it, rename it with your target keyword, whatever your topic is on that page, and then upload it. And then you put image alt text. So there's a thing called alt text for screen accessibility readers. It's mostly for when people have the accessibility readers and they're like, okay, we're going to describe this image. So the system reads it out loud. But you can put your target keyword in there if it fits naturally. So it's a good opportunity to help Google just better understand what the context is about.
Brilliant. Too. Now, you said, here's my turn. You said something just then. You used the phrase keyword in relation to the photo, but also we sort of inferred it through the blogs. What are keywords in relation to a website?
Keywords are a single word or more than one word that people type into Google to find what they need.
Okay.
And then in the old days, we can talk a little bit about AI if we feel like we want to.
I get that.
With Google, people would type in the phrase and it would only be able to serve up a page at a time. So it looks through all the websites in the world and then it comes back and gives those blue links and says, okay, this page might answer your query. This page might answer your query. This page might answer. And it does that because it scanned all the pages and it sees that target keyword in the page, in the headline, in the subline. All those different areas.
And what's the benefit to someone thinking about keywords on their website? Why should we care about putting those keywords in?
Mm-hmm. If, let's say, you're targeting facilitation training venues or
Mm-hmm.
something, if somebody types that word in, if you don't have content that talks about it, your website will not get found for it.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do you know
Yeah.
what keywords to use?
Yeah, that's a great question. Mostly, the easiest way for a lot of people is just to think about your audience and what they're asking in their day to day. So maybe they're looking for the top of like the actual service, the straight up service. I need a facilitator, or I need a venue for my meeting or something like that. Whatever those questions are, those are the topics that you want to target. And then secondly, the next easiest way is if you go to Google and type in some of those questions that they have and scroll down a little bit, there's an area called People Also Ask. And it gives some insight into some of the other questions around that topic that people want to know about as well. So that's the easy way about it. There is definitely other methods when it gets into really like, detailed, logical, that kind of thing. But I tend to tell people just figure out what your people want, write about it. And then if you want to get into tools and things like that, then you can do that.
I guess as well, I'm just going through another thought process in my head, Barb, is I could go into Google now and put in some of the questions or key phrases I think people are asking about facilitation, and then actually seeing, do I get recommended?
Mm-hmm.
Does School of Facilitation come up? And then if we're not, who is?
Mm-hmm.
And can I then almost go back and look at their websites and work out what are they saying that's maybe getting them up the Google rankings?
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly how to do competitor research without a tool.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's technology
it's
that
the
would do
easiest.
that.
Yeah.
But if someone was wanting to just get a felt sense, if they're in a particular area of, I don't know, leadership training, and they're in a particular part of the world or particular part of the UK, they could do a search on them, almost do a search asking and see if you come up.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. Another thing you can do too, that you can kind of see how your website looks inside of Google. So if you do site : like SITE : and then your domain.com, you can see almost all of your pages inside of Google, and you can see what those titles look like, the descriptions, and you can see if they look engaging enough for people to want to click. Ooh. I kind of liken them to like window shopping. Those are the window shopping of your store.
Yeah.
And then you can do that for competitors too. So if you don't want to keep clicking around to competitors, you can just click site : competitor.com, and you can see a listing of all of their pages as well. So you can kind of get a sense of what they're talking about, but like scrolling through instead of like clicking around all the time.
I love that. I'll write this information team into the show notes so we don't have to remember it all. But who knew? Okay, right. Well, I'm going in now. So this is some of the things that are going to blow my head up. I actually came to you and I was like going, what does SEO mean? Because I hear this phrase bandied around a lot. So can we start with, what do those three letters stand for? SEO.
Yep. Search engine optimization. Okay. So basically it's a tactic to get seen in Google.
Aha. And in the most simplest terms possible.
Yeah.
What does it look like, sound like, feel like? Maybe it has a smell. I don't know.
It smells a little fishy to me. It is basically doing things to your website that you optimize it in order for Google to better see it and want to rank it.
Okay. Aha. And what would be some of your top ways to optimize a website?
Have a blog. That is like one of the biggest things you can do. Yes.
God, and I took mine down. What a numpty.
Yeah. No, that's okay. People don't know. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, cool. So that's number one.
Have the blog, have an understanding of your messaging so that when you are putting the words on your website, that it makes sense to the reader and to Google. So like your services, be descriptive about it, what exactly you do, how you help, because not only does that help Google in your SEO and your tactic of optimizing your website, but once people land there, you get the traffic there, it helps convert them, which is the whole point of getting more website traffic anyway.
Okay.
So that's big one too. And then just technically sound. There's so many free audit tools out there. It's crazy. I can give you a link to my website that has like a free one if you want, but
Oh, yes,
you can just
please.
do free site audit and then you can see it, but I can give you one too. Most of them spit out a list of things. And then it tells you, oh, you have a broken link. Oh, this image isn't loading. Oh, this does this. Oh, that does that. And they're really helpful to be able to see the behind the scenes that Google looks at when it's crawling your website. And then you go fix those. And then, and most tools will tell you how to fix them. So it's super easy.
I think that's the big change, isn't it? Since the beginning of website creation and design. I remember when agencies would be like, oh no, you can't have access to the back end of your website. You know, leave that to us, leave that to
yes,
us.
right. Yeah.
And we've like gone the sort of a full 180, haven't we, with people building their own websites on Wix, and Wix is a popular one in the UK, and Squarespace.
Squarespace,
yeah.
And I used to get so pissed when I was working in corporate, and I would hire out for people like me. And this was back in the day when SEO was just beginning. Right. And I was like, okay, well, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, why can't you just tell me? And they wouldn't say anything. And I was like, it's not like, just tell me what it is. And so I always thought it was like something unique, something magic, something so hard, no common person could do it. And then I got into it and I'm like, whatever. It's not hard. It's just trying to figure out where to start first and then taking your time going through the different steps.
I think the reason I've never wanted to do it on my website is the level of detail. It just blows my head up. And yeah, there's logic that needs to be followed, and I just don't operate to that way. But then I've always said, you know, there's things that I'm good at and there's things that I will happily pay for.
Yep, exactly.
Website design is one of them, Barb.
Bookkeeping is mine. I'm like, that's gone.
I'm there as well. Because I also think, just as an aside, yes, I'm sure all of us are capable enough. We could do many of these things in our businesses ourselves. At the end of the day, it comes down to the cost of my time. Like, I could do it, but it would take me days. And I am that person who probably presses a button and then loses everything. So I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Sorry, Luce. So we've got SEO. Other words that acronyms I've seen recently: GEO, AISEO. What do they mean?
GEO is generative engine optimization. So people are getting fancy, and it's around like ChatGPT, optimizing for ChatGPT, and AI SEO is optimizing for any AI search engine type thing. Because Oh, sorry, go ahead.
By the way, I have learned developer language. Go ahead is definitely developer language. I've been working with a big tech team and they all use that word. Go ahead. Go ahead. I've just decided in my head that's developer techie speak.
Oh, that's funny.
I love it. No, I've now lost my train of thought. Where am I going?
We were talking about GEO and AI SEO.
Well, but how does that work?
Yep.
Like, how different is that to SEO?
Yeah, not a lot, to be frank. So at least so far still. Now, there are certain things in traditional SEO that are more prevalent or potentially prevalent in AI SEO and GEO. Basically, for GEO and AI SEO, it's meaning that you want to be a citation. So like when you go into Perplexity or ChatGPT and you type in facilitators near me or whatever it is, that you want to be one of those people mentioned. So it's instead of a link, it's a mention. And so far, those tools are outscraping Google and doing their own searches of all the websites. And so what happens is, if you're not already ranking in Google, it's somewhat tough to also be cited in some of these AI SEOs and GEOs. It's not unheard of, but it is tougher. And the other thing that people are leaning into more is because those tools are scraping the web. And if you get a lot more mentions, like say there's a top 10 list of facilitators near me, then if you're mentioned in that list and other lists, it's more likely that they're going to be like, oh, this facilitator is the one. So I'm going to mention them. So the idea around digital PR, so mentions, backlinks.
PR.
Yeah. So all of those things coming back are much more, people are leaning into that more as a method of trying to show up in those areas. But
interesting.
Yeah. So the kicker is Google likes those, right? They like the backlinks because it's like a vote for your website. They're like, yay, this is good. This person really knows their stuff. They're being mentioned everywhere, blah, blah, blah. But you can scam that system by hiring people to get you crappy backlinks, basically, because there's good ones and there's bad ones in Google's eyes. But so people are leaning more into like when you do podcasts, those are natural. Those are good when you link to other people's websites. When you do collaborations or in editorial. So a lot of what my copywriter does is use quotes from people because it's real. It's something different. It's not something you can scrape from somewhere else. And we give a link back to the person quoting. So that's a nice, good backlink that's not going to go away. It's like in editorial, which is much different than, say, a top 10 list.
Interesting. Just as you were talking, I did go and ask ChatGPT who are the top facilitators in the UK.
Yeah.
And organizations. We definitely don't get a showing.
Oh, shoot.
I know. So then I'm like, ooh, what do I need to do differently?
Do blogs, Kirsty.
Okay, team, what do we think the core message of today's learning is? Do your bloody blog. I don't even know. I know one person in that list of 5. Which makes me which I think is quite interesting. So then I'm like, what does it use? What does ChatGPT use as its criteria?
ChatGPT is Microsoft, right? So I think it's Bing. So if you rank in Bing, potentially is probably one of the criteria. Nobody's really said outright. People are still guessing because nobody will tell their algorithms, right? So there's a lot of studies, and then the studies, of course, depending on who's doing them.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I would guess it's more Bing related than it is Google related.
Oh, that's really interesting. Though it makes me now go, oh, going to go and look all this stuff up, which I find fascinating.
That's the fun part. You can see what their websites are doing. Maybe there's something that stands out that you're like, oh, maybe I should just try this. Maybe it's not blogs. Maybe you'll see something on their website that stands out as something that you don't have. And you could try to do that one thing and then wait a couple weeks or a month and see if that works. Yeah. And then go from there.
God, now I want to just go and play on ChatGPT and ask it loads of questions and see what it takes for us to show up. But that's just them force fitting it and finding the right question.
Yeah. Okay. Try Gemini and Perplexity too. See if they output something different.
Oh yeah. So Gemini is Google's, and Perplexity, is that just a standalone?
Yeah. I don't know who owns that one.
So ChatGPT is I thought that was just an open. So that's owned by Microsoft now.
Well, it's OpenAI or Microsoft was like a provider of it or something. Somehow they're connected. I can't remember exactly, but they use Bing, I think, as their basis, or they did at one point. Maybe they changed it now.
God, it's all fascinating. That makes my brain just sort of blow up. It's like,
I know.
There's so much.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So if people are listening to this and they've got a website already, what are some of the common problems that people run into with their websites that they often need, or they might even not realize they've got a problem with it? What do you notice?
A lot of the ones that I see outside of not having a blog is that there's just not enough information on the pages. So they're very short in nature, or there's maybe a service and a short description, but it doesn't go into detail about what it is and how it delivers and how it helps.
Yeah.
Another one, I'm actually kind of surprised the about page is kind of generalized. A lot of them could have like a person's picture on there to show who they are. Those are probably the biggest ones. And I think not having calls to actions at the end of blogs, if they do have blogs, has been a big one that's been missed too. So when you get done reading the blog, what do you want them to do specifically? And so that's always helpful.
And so when you think about a call to action,
Mm-hmm.
can you what are some examples of a call to action?
Yeah. One idea is if the topic isn't necessarily something that would lead into a direct sale, you could direct them to another piece of information on your website or a service page to learn more. If it is more to the sales side, like if it's like the step before they make a decision, you could say instead of contact me and heading them to the contact page, you could put your contact form just right at the bottom of the page. So that way it's just like right there, it's less friction. And also, kind of along that note, the reason I always say that is because when you send a link to your contact page from every page on your website, that's a bunch of quote links right to your contact page. What that does is kind of signal to Google that that's an important page because there's so many links to it. And so you're putting your contact page as your important page, which really it should be like your service page or your home page. So I always say don't link to your contact page, just put the contact page right on the form and make it easy for the reader.
Oh, that's a good one as well. Ah, I hope other people are sitting here going, quick, get a notepad out and write some rewind, grab
Yeah.
all of this from Barb. From your perspective, what do you, I was about to say, what do the best websites, what are they like? But then what is the definition of best?
Mm-hmm.
Like what are I don't know, like what are some of the websites that you've seen that made as someone who lives and breathes websites, made you go,
Mm-hmm.
ooh.
The ones that are visually captivating. I think the ones that capture my visual first, I can't even read it, right? I see something first before I actually read something. So I
Mm-hmm.
think if it can capture my attention with colors and or minimalism, that's the funny thing. It's got to be like one extreme or the other. And
Okay.
then I can stop and read what they say. If I can skim it and see the headlines really quick, like
Yeah.
because I don't really stick around very long to read unless it's like a deep topic or something like that. I like to skim through because I'm more auditory, quite frankly. But if it can capture my attention, that's when I go, ooh, look at that. Or if it's laid out differently, like I really hate cookie cutter. If you can do a website that doesn't look like everybody else's, I feel like that puts you in a better position as well. Now, I say that and mine looks like everybody else's. I'm actually going to start working on something that is completely different because I feel like so many websites are out there with these templates and we
Mm.
have the headline, we have this big block that says welcome, blah, blah, and then another block, and then another block, and then another block. And I just saw this one design, and I can't remember where I saw it, but they had like little moving bugs and creatures on it as they went down. It was for a pest control place. And I just thought it was so incredible because it's so different because it was like, oh, these little ants are moving all over the place. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
One of my clients I've worked with recently, I was on their website doing some research, and the front page, as you move the mouse, it sort of dragged whatever was it
Yeah.
made, and it sort of changed. It was a black screen, and then it would change all the colors. So,
Yeah.
God, how do you do that?
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that got me really curious.
Yeah.
So on a website as well, do you feel like people think that adding an audio and video is beneficial for people to interact in a different way other than just reading?
I think so. I can't say that any one thing is going to help like
Okay.
SEO specifically. I had a case where a client had, we put on a YouTube video because we always hear people saying, actually, I'm getting ready to talk about this in a podcast upcoming, but they, they say put a YouTube video, the industry experts say put a YouTube video on your page because Google loves Google, right? We did that for
Hmm.
a client. And then all of a sudden we noticed, because that was the only thing we changed, the traffic went down. We're like, well, what the heck? Took the video off and it did better. So I thought, oh, well, then I'm going to try that with mine because I had a page that had a YouTube video on it. And I said, well, I'm going to just take it off and see what happens. No change. So like literally you have to test everything. Like, cause it doesn't,
Okay.
it just depends on the engagement, the reader, the topic, the industry. Is it going
Yeah.
to help somebody? So I think it's all dependent. And I wouldn't say do one thing always on every page when it comes to like visuals or engagement pieces either.
Okay. How do
Mix it up.
people, you've just said something there. You said like, I could measure the we saw the traffic change. What do you use to measure traffic? We use that quite, I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I don't
Yeah.
think I've got Google Analytics set up correctly.
That's what I use mostly is Google Analytics. And then there's also Google Search Console. So Google Analytics is a little intimidating, to be frank, and I get that a lot. Google Search Console is a free tool from Google, and you can see the keywords that people are using to get to your website.
Ooh, that's cool.
You can
By
see
the way,
how many. Go ahead.
I'm saying all of this, but I mean, I'm not going to go and look. I'm going to say to Emily, Em, can you go and have a look and then tell me? But I think there will be people listening to this who have a better, who are up for it. So Google Console.
Google Search Console. It tells you basically all the keywords and all the pages. So like when you show up in search results, that page is an impression. It doesn't matter if it's at the bottom of the page, top of the page, if they scroll and see it or whatever. If it comes up in the results, that's an impression. So you can see how many impressions you get for a query, for a topic, or for one of your pages. Then you can also see how many people click to your website. You can also see how what position ranking it is in. So is it on position 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, whatever it may be, up to I think 100. And then you can see that by page or by query, and you can see it over time as well. So if there's different date parameters you can use, super easy. So when you change a page, you could say, okay, I changed it today. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to go look and see if my lines are up or down with whatever I was trying to change.
Fabulous. Gosh. I mean, I was about to say who knew, but obviously there is stuff out there like that. It's like, Kirsty, did you care enough to go and look? And the answer was no. However, as I've said to everybody all along, the reason I started the podcast was to do some learning for myself. So this is a brilliant example of a conversation where I'm doing some learning. What do you think the future about websites? Like what could be coming? Is anything going to change in the land of websites?
In the land of websites themselves, I don't foresee anything in the very near future. I feel like we will always need them. Right. Because I think it's just going to be a matter of, because it is kind of like a business card, right? Like people want to see what you're all about, and you only have so much space and so many ways to do it on other platforms, and other platforms come and go. And so do the platforms that hold our websites, but our websites always stay no matter what platform they're on. So it's how people can find you versus what did we have in the old days, like yellow pages or whatever. There wasn't even anything really, flyers, that kind of thing. But I think websites are going to stick around. Yeah, newspapers. Yeah, that was the only way to get found. So I think they're going to stay. I think what's going to change is that it's going to get even more fragmented in terms of marketing. So we're going to have to do more, not necessarily more effort. I don't want to scare people with that, but think more strategically and intentionally about like where we want to be and how, and know that it's not just any one place, because if you do just one place and that goes away, then that's where you kind of cut yourself off at the legs.
Yeah, I hear you. So when you say where you want to be, are you thinking like social media platforms as well?
Primarily, I do think that there's going to be more potentially networking type platforms versus I know people call them social all the time, but there's other ones out. It's just because it seems social, but they're more networky type. There's like, the Discord, the Slack, these other channels everywhere. And there's only so many senses, right? You've got sound, you've got reading, you've got sight. So there's only so many ways you can do these platforms, quite frankly. So, yeah.
Did you, did you ever have a play with Clubhouse?
I did very shortly. Yeah.
Is it still around?
It is still around. And I know somebody who's big in my industry who still has it and has a weekly call. And I jump in there every once in a while for my industry piece. But for me, when I was in there at the time and I tried it, it just felt like there was so much spammy crap in there all of a sudden. It's like, that's where all of these people that were selling high ticket things and having this and that. There was like a cult of types of industries that were in there, and it just felt gross. And so I was like, I don't, my people aren't here.
Nah. For anyone who's like, what's Clubhouse? It was an audio platform.
Mm-hmm.
And you could like open up a room in the Clubhouse. You could go live. You could talk. It was always like a talking platform, and people would come and join your rooms, and either they could join in and talk, or they would be able to ask you questions. Or they just sit and listen, and you'd have a conversation either with yourself or with maybe a guest. But yeah, I listened to some of them. They were truly shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was an interesting creative concept.
Yeah.
It just didn't have any weight to stick around, and there wasn't really scalability, I think, with it as well. And it's kind of clunky when you move around, and
yeah. I think
kind of like
other people, like other platforms, provided the audio piece in terms of, but with visual. I think people probably wanted both. So like Instagram lives, LinkedIn lives, YouTube, if you can figure that all out, that gives you that both auditory and visual piece that people want, I think.
Yeah.
True. Thank you for all of that information. I'm like, I am definitely going to go and have a chat with them so we can look at our website. I always do quick fire questions with our guests who come on. And if it's okay with you, can I ask you some quick fire questions, Bob?
I'll try to be quick. I've been really wordy lately.
Oh, don't worry. My first question is, what advice would you give to someone starting out?
Hands down, do whatever you want to do.
Love that.
I can't even tell you. Like, it was so funny. I started my podcast like a year and a half ago, and I went around and I asked all kinds of advice because I thought I had to do it a certain way, and it had to be perfect in my world. Like, this had to be done correctly. And all of the advice I got was great. It helped me get some more perspective and see what's possible. But quite frankly, what ended up happening was I followed maybe half of it. I didn't do everything, because if I followed everything that everybody told me, I would have never gotten it off the ground.
Yeah.
So I think just understanding that whatever you're trying to start, it's only the beginning. It's not going to be that way at the end. Like, things evolve over time.
Absolutely. So true. Who do you follow in social media land that you think others should too?
Okay, I have some businessy ones, but I'm going to give you this one that is not businessy because it's so freaking funny. Her name is Haley Morris. Have you heard of her?
Yep. She's a British comedian.
Yeah.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
And she does sketches about the body parts.
Yes.
Like talking to each other.
Yeah. It really makes my day.
She is very, very funny. Yes. Yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah. What book do you recommend to people, or podcast maybe?
So for books, the business book is Simple Marketing for Smart People by Billy Broas. It's been one of the most influential books for me. I really got a lot out of it, and I was blown away at the simplicity of it and just the way that he explained marketing. It was really good. It was different than any other books that I had read, and I've read a lot of books. And then for fun, I would say there's Frida McFadden is kind of like a suspense thriller type of book. I've read almost every single one of hers. And then there's a book called Verity, but I would not recommend the extended version. It kind of dilutes the craziness and greatness of the amazing original book.
Okay, right. Verity it is.
Yeah, it'll blow your mind.
My life. Final question. How have you invested in yourself or your business to support you moving forward?
Yes, I think 5 years ago I would have laughed at myself by saying this, but I meditate and I do a lot of self-exploration, and I never saw that coming. And I think it is hands down one of the best things that has helped my business, because I didn't want to be seen 5 years ago. I was like, okay, bring on the clients. Where are they? Like, it doesn't work like that. And it's helped me just day to day as well. Personally, I think has been a big thing. And then taking courses in and around for my business. I think that's helped. Investing in other freelancers to help me with my business, bookkeeping, for example, copywriter, those kinds of things. It really frees me up to be more creative for marketing my business and with my clients to say, okay, well, how can I help them better? Because everybody is in a different position. While I have a framework, every one of my clients is different in some form or fashion. And so I like to be able to be creative with that.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Those are good
I
questions.
found this conversation really interesting. My brain is a little bit frazzled. I'm like, wow. Bob, how do people find you?
Yes. The easiest way is probably because we're on a podcast is to pop over to my podcast. It's Small Business Sweet Spot. And I'm sure we will have you on it very well when we can, I guess I'll say. Yeah. I know you've been busy with your SOF Fest and things like that, but and then the other one is just my website is probably the easiest, compassdigitalstrategies.com.
Brilliant. People, I recommend following Barb, go find her. Are you on LinkedIn as well?
I am. I'm not as active, but I am over there. I'm more active on Instagram.
Oh, what are you called on Instagram?
Compass Digital Strategies.
Compass Digital Strategies.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Yes, I can relate to the School of Facilitation. People like go, what?
Yeah.
But go find Bob, go get some help with your websites team. And Bob, thank you so much for being with us this morning, this afternoon, whatever time of day it is for the listener. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my head feels a little bit full up right now, because that was a lot of technical conversation and technical talk, team. I don't know where you're at, but I guess my key takeaways are: have a blog on your website. Who knew? My website's been built a few times, and never have the people building my website said to me, Kirsty, you really do need a blog, and emphasize the reasons why. And I am going to rectify that. So we need a blog team. Think about our keywords. Check on the search that people are doing, using the language that is in relation to the work that you do. I think that's all I can say, really. And what a lovely lady Barb was. Super generous with her time. Oh, digital PR. I'm going to go and talk to Lucy about that. What is digital PR? I feel like it's a whole other genre of PR and marketing that I hadn't considered before. Anyway, if you have enjoyed today's episode of A Facilitator's Journey, please go give it some love. A star, a thumb, even like a review would be amazing. And as important, please feel free to share this with your business besties, family and friends, of course, but I don't know how much they're going to want to know about optimizing their websites. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening this far. And I'll see you again. Come join me on the pink chair in a couple of weeks' time. Take care.